Hello, I am Gepwin and we are back in Planet Explorer's creation mode. Oh yeah, and last time we made a kind of piss poor vehicle. I think the shape turned out okay, but the paint job on my Mako was just terrible. Anyway, you can watch that if you like. But this time, I wanted to make something grander, so I am in the aircraft battleship menu because I wanted to make a Star Destroyer. I actually had to spend most of yesterday planning out the hull shape and doing some experiments because it has a very difficult hull shape to make. So I'm going to take you through some of the things I did for that. So firstly, I put the floor up sort of midway, not exactly. I can't remember exactly how high this is, but I wanted it to have slightly more room on the top because the top of the thing is larger, but I wanted to have enough wiggle room on the bottom that I could play with it a little bit. Alright, then the next thing that I did was I took my wedge tool and I just played with it to find sort of a angle that I liked. Because it has this, the Star Destroyers have this kind of sloped top that I find interesting and I like them. I think a lot of people do, and we need it to face that direction. And after some experimentation, I found that something about like that looked like the angle I wanted. It's fairly shallow. It does get up to a decent height on the back. So something along those lines. And this is, well, I started with 30 tall. And this one is 270 because I've already done the math on this and figured it out. But I figured out that I want it to be 30 tall and somewhere around 250 to between 250 and 280 on this end. So, in order to do the next bit, I had to figure out a couple of divisors to make sure everything worked out evenly. So I took 30 and I multiplied it out until I got something in the 250, 280 range, and that turned out to be 270 to make everything divide evenly into 9. And that becomes important in a second, and you will see why. So next we're going to turn on our good old x-axis symmetry, because these things are incredibly symmetrical. We are not going to turn on our y-axis symmetry yet, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. Yes, the top curve and the bottom curve are about the same. I think one might be a little bit lower than the other, but with all the extra stuff on top, as long as you keep your angles shallow enough, no one will really notice. And we could build both sides at the same time, but we're not going to, and you're going to see why in a minute. So first thing we need to do is make a guide for the back and the bottom. So we wanted it to be 270 long. Each of these squares is 10, so we go 3 squares in to give us 30, and we want it to be all the way on the edge and then into the middle, and then make it 30 tall. 30 tall, and then we just hit tab until our points in the right direction like that. And this is incredibly important as a guide. I was trying to do the shape without this initially, and it didn't work out. And I did a lot of experiments to try to get this shape, because this is a very weird shape to get in Planet Explorers. Just the way the system works, it doesn't like doing these two angles at once. And this is several angles. I tried deleting things, I tried feathering things, tried everything. This is what I found that worked. So you go up to your guide, and the reason that we have the guide here is so we can find, just follow this triangle up. So you see here, this is where it goes up. Every couple of things, if you move alongside, the voxel selector jumps up a level. That's where you want your next layer to be. So you get in front of that, and you just move all the way down to the front like that, so that it is 269 because we have a layer at 270. You make sure that it is abutting but not crossing your center line. I'm going to do something about that later to make that easier. And then you make sure that it is pointing the right direction. And make sure that it is pointing to the right when you have your X enabled. Okay, that is the front of the ship. If you have trouble with it, like I do sometimes, get out your cockpit first and just place it down in the corner here, so that you can always tell what direction your ship is going to be facing. Okay? That will save you a lot of headache later on. So now we've got this. And if we go to materials, I actually like to put, I've discovered it made things easier to put a very small little line too wide and then up here so that you can see where the center line is more easily from the back. Now, this is where the math comes in. Remember I said that if you take 30 and multiply it by 9, it goes out to the 270 that we had? So what that little bit of math means is to maintain a good angle going from the tip up to here, get a nice smooth angle going. Every one of our 30 layers has to have the 0.9 voxels back. Alright, so this one was out at 269. So we want our next one to be at 260. We go over to our guide here. We go up along it until it jumps up like that, and then we start dragging out, and that'll keep things even with this angle. We drag it out to 260, and then we make sure that it lines up in the middle by having it just touch that center line there. And that is the first 2 layers of our Star Destroyer. Now from 60 we go down to 51, go up until it jumps like that, in, go out to 51, 251 to be more precise, make sure that it's just abutting the center line, and we got it wrong. And that's where the headache really comes in, is you keep getting it wrong, having to redraw the thing, etc, etc. And you do that all the way up until you get to the very top, basically. And I hope you got the idea, because this is a pain. This takes forever. So, as they say... Oops. So, as they say in cooking shows, aircraft... See how many things I've done? Top edge. Here's one I prepared earlier. There we go. That's exactly the same technique I was showing you before. I followed the guideline up on the back and got this in a nice shape here. Now, unfortunately, I haven't really found a way to get rid of some of this sort of step pyramid look, but all in all, looks pretty freaking good, if I do say so myself. And this took just forever to figure out. And now, we're going to want to put our symmetry back on. So we definitely want our X symmetry. This is about the time that we're going to want our Y symmetry. Let's put our plane up to 240 so that we know about where we're working from. Alright, now we have our Y symmetry on. And it doesn't really matter where your Y symmetry is, as long as it is somewhere below this shape. For right now, it's going to matter later on. But for the moment, we just want our Y symmetry somewhere below our top shape here. And what we want to do is hollow this out, because this thing is already going to weigh a ton. I did a test, and I have yet to get the engines to actually work on this thing, so hopefully I'll be able to play with that enough this time that I can get the thing to get off the ground. I'm fairly confident I can. But we definitely want it hollow, because there's no reason to carry all that extra weight around. How much weight are we actually carrying? That is 4,000 tons. Yeah, so that's pretty substantial. So what we want to do to get this thing hollow is this very nice trick that some people have been using. Alright, get your selector depth up to at least as long as this is. This is 270. I'm going to do 290 because if you overshoot, that's fine. Select the entire assembly. It doesn't matter if you cross over because we've got symmetry on. Then you want to extrude down 1 voxel. So hold Shift and hit Alt or Option, depending on which kind of computer you're on. And we have now copied this 1 voxel lower. So this one is actually up 1 voxel from where it would have been if we just copied this directly. Just like that. Now, what you could do at this point is just take this and delete it. And that hollows out the middle. However, unfortunately, if we do that, because of the way the curve is, and the way the game draws things, you wind up with this that has a ton of holes in it. And while that looks pretty cool, and you could probably do something with that. It's not the look we are going for. Yeah, so we're going to undo that. And instead, we're just going to use this very simple trick, where we want to move our mirror, let's see, down another 2? Yeah, let's put it down to 40, which, if I did it the right direction, this either mirrors it higher or lower, so let's see. I hope I did it the right direction this time so I don't have to redo it. And delete, and there you go. We moved our mirror down so that it copied a couple of voxels later, and now we wind up with a 3 voxel thick, which, yeah, not as thin as it could be, but really about where we want the thing. Now we need the other side. So the bottom of this is now at 443 because we extruded it down by 1. So we want to copy that and have a slight edge here, because they don't Star Destroyers don't come to a point. They have a little bit of a flat bit all the way around. So we're going to want our y-axis to go back up. It was at 40, so 43 is the bottom. Let's move it down by another 1, I think. Let's do 1 more. Take it down to 41. It's going to look a bit weird. I don't want it to be too thick on the edge. Well, let's just see how it looks. It's easy enough to undo. So, select the entire thing again. Then once more, Shift and Alt. And we have copied it. And how thick is that going to be? That's going to be a little thicker than I would like. So we're going to undo that. Unfortunately, it does make the shell a little thicker, but I'm going to move this up by 2. Well, 1 really, because each click is a half. And now move it down again. That looks pretty good. And now I just want to turn off Y mirroring. We're going to select the entire edge of this, just that very lead edge, and use Shift Space to bring it up and meet the other one. And there we go, there is our Star Destroyer shape. And yeah, it's not perfect. Not exactly perfect, but it does look pretty freaking good, if I do say so. I do apologize, there's little jumps and things here and there. Every time I'm about to make a point about something, a noisy car drives by. And I don't know why, that was just some kind of boom car. So anyway, we now have our basic shape. The next bit that gave me a lot of trouble is getting those interesting tower assemblies on the top. So I'm actually going to take a second here and pull up my source image. I should have had one on the screen already for you guys, but I need one that I can look at. So I took a second to pull up all of my source images, and before I was experimenting with this until I get something I was fairly happy with. But I'm going to see if I can improve on it slightly for this version. So looking at it, we're not going to be able to match it exactly. But the entire large bit takes up about 50% of the ship, actually. It starts going up here, and then it sort of does some tiered stuff and winds up here, like that. We're not going to draw it that direction. I actually found the best way to draw it is this direction, so we're going to bring our depth back down into the double digits. I'm going to put it about 20, 25. This entire top bit should be about 30 thick. Maybe a little thicker now. We've been playing with the extruding and such. And we're going to start a little ways back. We're going to need some room for the engines and things in the back here. This back, unfortunately, is going to be a little bit straighter than the other version. I guess I could continue it up the other way, but it was just becoming such a pain to try to match, and the straight back is going to look about as good. So we're going to start from the middle, and about this far in, I think, and we're going to go out and quite a ways, not the entire way. We're going to actually need another little bit on the edges for where the guns are. So about like that. This middle bit does take up about a third of the ship. Now I'm going to use space and extrude up slightly. Alright, not very far in the back there. And then we're going to use shift and the arrow keys to move it forward this way. Because it is very straight on top. It looks like it has a little bit of a slope, but if you look very closely, it doesn't really. I mean, it might have a slight amount, but the amount of time it would take us to get that slight slope on there is not worth any additional realism it would bring. And of course, we accidentally deselect the thing. So let's... the same button for move camera is the button for deselect. Alright, we're gonna keep moving out this way. Created a weird little change there. No, actually that doesn't look too bad. And move out this way a little bit more. I'm gonna call it about there for this section, then shift and alt and bring it down. There, just like that. Now the next section I would like to bring it out to about 14, 13-ish. I'm gonna select along the front edge to about there, and shift and go another line to, let's say, about there. No, that looks pretty good. Oops. Select the one. It'd be almost impossible to keep making these curves over and these, not curves, the other thing, slopes, over and over and over. Next, we're going to want to close up the sides. So that is our basic shape, and it's looking pretty good. Pretty good. We need the sort of conning tower shield array. But next, we're going to work on something that's even more iconic. Even more iconic than the shield array. And I can't decide on whether I'm going to put the lower shield down here or not. But what we really want is the docking bay, which starts about here. Need to make sure we're selecting enough. I'm going to go for 25. So we're going to start our docking bay in the back about there and make a nice sizable cutout on the bottom. There we go, there's our docking bay. And we actually now need to select some more of the top, and we're going to extrude this up. There we have our docking bay. Just like that. I think I might need to fix the top a little bit so that it actually, touches. That might help. Where are we? Yeah, this part here needs to go back toward me a little bit more. There. Now it actually touches on the inside. And there we go. Now we can fit our Carillion Corvette in there. If someone wants to make a 4-scale Carillion Corvette, that would be awesome. We could have a space battle chase on one of the servers. I don't have a server yet. I need, one of my friends was going to set one up. I haven't talked to him in a while. We've both been so busy. Alright, there's that. Now we need to work on the back engines. This was a part that I found difficult to do. Alright, did a little experimenting. Might be a little off center, but 20 by 20 at about that is what I'm going for. So we're going to start 2 out from the back here, 5 over, and then over to 20. That should be centered. Let's send it into about 40. We're going to cut most of this off later. 40 by 20 by 20. Now if that is centered, it should be pointy. Yes, doesn't matter they're copied because it's centered. There's our main engines. Alright, now I want to turn Y-axis on. That's already pretty much in the middle. Okay. Then midway between here, I kind of want a 10 by 10 engine, I think. And there we go. There is our iconic engine arrangement. I like it. Let's take off Y symmetry, and then we need to extrude out from the inside here. This looks like one of those posters where you can look at it from either direction and see boxes going up or down. It's really kind of freaky in there. Really freaky. we'll start at the highest point. We'll go in about 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's call it 5. And then we'll select out. Now we can space up and extrude over, and we will eventually get a space along the back. There we go, back bit completely filled. Very nice. Now, what I really want to do is get in here and delete, find an angle that I can see. First off, inside the upper hull, going down, there we go. I very much want to delete these little cone bits sticking out inside. There we go, not the smoothest looking, but as long as the outside still looks fine, that's good. And we took off almost 100,000 tons. 100 tons, not 100,000. Ugh, I don't think this thing would ever fly with 100,000 tons. So that was helpful. Now we want the iconic conning tower thing, which is actually a lot weirder looking than people think. I'm gonna pull up another reference image here. So looking at the iconic conning tower, which people, I don't know, I always imagined it as these two giant orbs that were on top of this sort of flattish area on top, but actually it's a straight-sided, slight diamond on top of a little bit of a curved stalk with a weird bridgey looking thing in the middle. And the shield orbs are actually quite small as compared to the rest of it, and it extends about as far as this thing does. This thing might go out a little further, so we want to extend to about here-ish. But first we're going to make the middle. And the middle starts in here somewhere, a little bit up like that, and we need a wedge. There, that's the thickness I'm looking for, but we're actually going to slice off part of the top. It's really not that high up if you look at it. There, that looks about right. Now we want to use our extrude tool again to get a nice sort of straight side going up this way. Like that. Good, and then we want another slope going that way. That kind of matches the one on the bottom. There, just like that. The shield orbs are on top of little stalks. I'm going to move this up so that it lines up, and they're actually very far out near the side. So we're going to start them somewhere around here. And let's make them, what, 6 by 6? Does that look too small? Let's see. Might be a tiny bit small. Let's put the orb on and see how that looks. Oh, I actually like the look of that. Yeah, I'm liking the look of that. Very much so. So, actually I want to flatten this out a little bit. That's fine with the weirdness of the program, really. And now I just want to select one about that wide, go up, go over, go back, go up, oops, wrong up. Let's over a little, up by one, back over. And then there's a little bit of a unsee thing in the middle like that. There, that is looking nice, isn't it? I know that's looking nice. Very nice. And I think I want to make this a little thicker. That looks pretty good. Yeah, it does. That looks pretty dang good. Alright, now we need to start putting all of the parts and things on it. The one thing I really do want to have is this weapons area on this side. And I made one like this. It's not completely accurate, but I wanted this to jut out the side just a little bit, like that, and then go down, like that. And yeah, not completely accurate, but I think it looks better for the guns. And it doesn't really ruin the shape. Naval gun and naval gun. And I know they're all freaking huge. Don't worry. We're gonna go into our scale. This scale and do 0.4, 0.4, 0.4. Apply. And down in very slightly. Those look like they're pretty evenly spaced, don't they? Now we've got our side cannons. Very iconic with this particular ship design. Good, good, good. I think that circle shield on the bottom will look a little weird with this, the way we're doing this. So I'm actually going to drive it from on top of, from on top of the docking bay here. Let's get large fuel cells, all up slightly and over a bit so they're not clipping into things. I know I could make them invisible, but good, good, good. Now for the most important bit. There, we're unfortunately going to have to hop in and out of the creation menu when we're doing this to... That's this one. We need to be -90. We're gonna have to hop in and out just to make sure that we're getting everything right and that this thing will be able to fly. Anyway, I'm gonna jump out and test this to see if it has enough thrust. So that took a lot of experimenting, but I was able to finally get the engines in a position that it seems to be flying stably. I guess since most of the weight is the back, most of the engines should be in the back. If I put the engines up here, it flips over sideways. If they're going to have this kind of mechanic in here, I really hope the developers put in a center of thrust, center of weight indicator for these things. They must have one in the calculations, otherwise it wouldn't flip over if your engines were in the wrong place. But you can't see it, so it's all, guesswork. Move the engines back, see if it explodes, move the engines back, see if it explodes, etc., etc. Anyway, two things that I'm going to do right now. One, I want to make these engines glowy, which means we need a decal, and I've got the right color. There, it's sort of a patch job, but there we go. Engines. Oops. Cancel. Definitely save. Engines are on. Now we go back into paint. Now most of this thing is going to be gray. Very simple paint job. Most of it's going to be gray, and I'll try to put in a little texture and maybe some little lights and things here. No, that is terrible. You know what? I might make a texture for this, but it's going to be better to not try to paint the windows on. Let's export and hope that it goes, because last time I tried, we ran into some graphic issues. Search successfully. Alright. Export, and let's see what this thing looks like, shall we? Holy frick. I know that filling gives extra pigment, but good god. And here we are. I finally got the thing to load in game. I'm really not sure why I had to play with the settings a lot to get it to load in correctly. But there we are. This thing is huge. We can even walk right up into the bay here. Or we can't actually, because it counts as being a solid object there for some reason. Anyway, we've got the bay underneath. We've got the nice thing up top. We can't even look at the whole thing at once. Let's get in, and I'm going to turn the guns off for right now. Now, if I have the right one in, it should fly. It took me forever to get the thing balanced. Come on, off the ground. There we go. There we go. Now we got this thing going. And you can't even see the whole thing at once. Look at that. Look at that. Let's turn the guns back on. Now we got these guns, and they're loud, and it's weird that you can fire through yourself, but yeah. Broadside. Need to get this thing in a server and have two of them fight each other. That would be awesome. Anyway, here's the Star Destroyer. I think it turned out quite well. I do wish I had a little bit of better texturing to do some of the paint job, maybe get some windows and stuff in. I might make a decal for that later, but at the moment I think it looks pretty good as is. I might put it up onto the ISO sharing site. If not, if I forget to and somebody wants it, please do leave a comment and let me know. Let's turn those guns off. Anyway, here's the Star Destroyer. I'm so happy I got it to work. It looks so cool. Anyway, I am Gefwin. I really hope that you've enjoyed this. If you do enjoy these videos, please leave a like. It helps out a lot. If you really enjoy them and want to see more, you can subscribe. If you don't and just wanted to watch this, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you soon.